You need to have a clear vision of what you want to do, because many people are still confused on what they even want to do. You have to have a clear idea of what you want to do. Having cleared that you are offering a solution to a real life problem, not just some fancy ideas in your head, but that you have solution towards real life problems. That's stage one. Stage two is to begin to plan, begin to talk to people, begin to validate what you have, the ideas that you have. And of course, the final stage is you need to get off the ground. If you don't get off the ground, your idea will perish with you. Therefore, you need to be determined that you will move forward.
What I'm considering is this, and what I'd like you also to talk to us about is, when it comes to do, how much do we need to rely on other people to help us to do?
Women should continue to be strong, to be resilient, to be audacious, to dream, to dare, and to do those things which only women can do better than any other person. And that women should continue to make sure that they find their space and stay in there, fulfill their dreams, and stay at the top. Because according to Mr. Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, women, the world now needs more women than ever before because of the nature of women. Apart from the milk of kindness in women, the brilliance and the maturity and the manner they handle issues are things to emulate by the other gender.
All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. Yes, I had to just usher you all into this content, because I know this is International Women's Month and we are accelerating into action. And what other what agency that represent women in a global stage other than women? Again, let's just dive into the main issue at the cause of partisanship and political affiliation that are vested into corrupted interests. We fight each other, we throw caution to the wind, we begin to kill and destroy, actions that are inhuman, if you ask me. Then what is left of our humanity is the question I'm asking right now. How are we better than the animals in this zone? Yes, because I have seen how our leaders globally have acted. So the River State saga is worrisome, is worrying, and we will come back to that on the show right now. And guys, this is another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kiki. I am your convener, your chief host, and of course, a script writer. I say welcome to another interesting episode. And I know that, yes, on this day, initial segment have been played earlier. And of course, okay, you know what? I think it's important for us to hear what on this day in segment as for. When I return, I'll give my 2 cents on it. Stay with me, I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. I believe that, on this initial segment today is talking about censor. What a name that I would say, or a word, that has been there in 80s, 90s in our country. It's a lesson from history to know that the first post-independence censor was conducted on Thursday, March 6 in 1963, and that's about 62 years ago. However, coming back to modern times, countries don't carry out censors again. This is because of good record keeping, if you ask me, database management, and it is costly to carry out censor. But when we keep migrating records, the registration of births and deaths, seriously, we will have a near 100% currency on our population, and economic planning can be more easier in database management. I think that's my takeaway from on this initial side. Let's take a word from my sponsors. When I return, dive straight to the okay. I understand that we've done all of that. Okay, let's get a dive straight to the issue at hand. And guys, River State has been embroidened, or will I say entangled, in a political crisis marked by internal crisis or internal conflict within the state's leadership and allegations of constitutional violations. A significant development was the Supreme Court's nullification of the October 2024 local government election, which were dominated by the Action People's Party, APP, due to legal irregularities. This decision has intensified, political tensions within the state, and additionally, Governor Fubara's presentation of the 2025 budget to a faction of the state's House of Assembly has been a contentious issue. Critics argue that these actions disregarded judicial pronouncements, and of course could also bring in all the issues when it comes to the political crisis in Rivers State. On the live show today, I will be having real talk around impact of Supreme Court rulings, and of course budget presentation, controversy, civil society's role, possibility when it comes to the solutions to the crisis at hand. I want to emphasize on dialogue, because the respect for judicial decisions is something that we'll touch on, and of course the collaborative effort between government entities and civil society to restore stability and public trust. On my program, I like to provide solutions to issues, not just talk about it, but also look for how we can forge ahead to unify ourselves. So it's important for me to play the guest profile of my guest today, so you understand that it's the right person to throw some light on the issue. Stay with me, I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Let me welcome Comrade Solomon Lenu. It's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you, Kike. Good afternoon.
Okay, excellent morning. Excellent afternoon. So let's dive straight to the issue at hand because of time. Because you are a stakeholder in Rivers State. You have first-hand participation or involvement in the ongoing development in Rivers State politics. The big question remains: is this crisis about governance, or is it a battle for political supremacy? You know, Nigerians are watching, and it is more like the powers that used to be, and that is for now is disrupting political affairs and governance in the state. Who are the accusation fingers, you know, pointing at the moment, and why?
Yeah, thank you, Kike, for asking this question. And it is also very important that we are discussing this at this time, because when things like this begin to happen in one part or one section of the country, and then people begin to feel as though it doesn't concern them because it's not happening in their own domain, then it's just a matter of time before it will debilitate and migrate to that area. Because of course, you know, bad things or evil does not need promotion to actually spread around. So it's important we are discussing this. Right now in Rivers State, we are at another crossroad again. Although this is not new, because right from 1999, during the advent of the current democracy, Rivers State had always had one political problem or the other. Although we always also find a way out of it, but then it is not a good omen, because, of course, where there is crisis, there will hardly, you know, be concentration or focus on development and good governance, which is what, you know, the people expect. Now, but to take a look at a cursory look at what is happening in Rivers State at the moment, of course, I'm a civil society person, so I will say it the way it is. What is happening is not a battle about governance. It is actually a battle of who controls the resources, you know, of Rivers State. Of course, it's no news that Rivers State is a very rich state with an enormous resources and internal generated revenue and all of that. So everything that is happening right now can be micro traced to the fact that the former governor of Rivers State, having left office as the governor of the state, is still trying so hard to continue to be in charge, to continue to control the resources, you know, of Rivers State. But unfortunately, he has done his tenure, and then we have a new sheriff in town at the moment in the person of the current governor, and then things have not gone well, you know, between them, and that is the reason for all of the political turmoil and the political crisis that you are seeing. But it is also important for us to say that at this point, I believe that it has gotten to a point where the both actors will have to come together to sit down on a discussion table, because of course every conflict must always end on the discussion table. No matter what it is, they need to, you know, put their pride aside, put their ego aside, and then consider the poor masses who are suffering, you know, as a result of the political turmoil and crisis that is going on right now. Of course, it's no news to anybody at the moment, the judgment of the Supreme Court. But then that judgment came as a shock to a whole lot of Rivers people of good conscience, because you imagine that two political actors are having disagreement or having, you know, a crisis, and then the Supreme Court, you know, will, you know, go against every natural justice, every natural understanding of what governance or government should be, and go and, you know, declare a judgment that puts a halt to the receipt of the allocation that comes to Rivers State, that the poor masses, you know, of Rivers State should benefit from. I mean, if something is not done urgently to resolve this issue, and then the position of the Supreme Court stands, what that means is that from March, the civil servants in Rivers State will not be able to receive their salary if the governor is not able to do a work around that situation. The school teachers, the hospital workers, and then this will be as a result of the political crisis that is between the two, you know, political gladiators. And then it is also important for us to state that there is something, a trend that has been going on in this country that we in Rivers State are becoming very worried about. The judicial, you know, pronouncements when it comes to Rivers State is always given in such a way that suggests as if Rivers State is operating under a different, legal jurisprudence in this country. Because so many times, more than once, we've seen judgment comes out of the appellate court, with regards to issues in Rivers State that does not confirm with the grand norm. And we saw another one again, from the judgment that came from the Supreme Court. I mean, today, if you come to Rivers State today, although that judgment was given with regards to Rivers State, but the lacuna that the judgment of the Supreme Court has created will affect the whole.
All right, Solomon, can you hear me? Okay, I understand that we are having, the network is a bit erratic right now. Solomon, are you there?
Say that the only situation administration are elected officers.
All right, Solomon, can you hear me? I want you to please respond to me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. I hear you, and I like the fact that you touched on the Supreme Court's decision to nullify the October 2024 local government election that has been described as a landmark ruling. But can we say that that ruling is biased with all that you've shared passionately right now? Has some element of interference from the federal level come to play? Because from a civil society perspective, what does this verdict, signify for the rule of law and democracy in Rivers State? That's my first question to you, if you can hear me. And my second question, if you can answer both together, knowing that the sitting governor, Governor Fubara, recently presented the 2025 budget to a fraction of the State House of Assembly. I remember vividly then that there were about 4 or 5 of them on the day of presentation of the budget. Some argue this move on that it undermines the constitutional order, while others see it as a necessary governance. Do you believe that these actions strengthen or weakens democracy process in the states?
The issue of the annulment of that local government election, the issue that we are concerned about is the haste and the meddlesomeness, that had come from the appellate courts, the Supreme Court, whenever it has to do with Rivers State. Of course, we don't have any argument about the position of the Supreme Court that there were irregularities around the local government election. But what we are saying is that the laws were meant and made for people, not the other way around. Right now, by virtue of the Supreme Court decision last year, when they abolished everything that has to do with caretaker local government administration, vis-a-vis the judgment that is given today, that was given just a few days ago, last week Friday, with the case of Rivers State, it then means that for whatever reason, whenever there is inability to have an elected executive to man the local government administration, definitely there's going to be a lacuna because there is no option or no provision for the state to actually find an interim solution pending when they are able to conduct an election. And the reason for this is because the Supreme Court is there to interpret and accentuate our laws, not to make our law, not to make law. If you want to have a constitutional amendment or you want to, make corrections on existing laws, I think it should go through a legislative process because that is the only way that you can be able to fine-tune the laws, look at the possible pitfalls that can happen in future, and then put down laws, interim solution to cushion those effects, which has not been done. As we speak today, if you don't have an executive elected local government officials, then the local government will have to be vacant, which is what is almost happening in Rivers State today. And of course, we know that leadership abhors vacuum. And then going to answer your question, if there were some fundamental flaws about the decisions of the Supreme Court, I will tell you yes. Because of course, we all know how our law operates. But then the judgment that came from the Supreme Court, there's an aspect of it which is disturbing. And that's the fact that the issue of defection, which the Supreme Court actually adjudicated and then made pronouncement upon, was not brought before it. The matter that was before the Supreme Court, which they were supposed to make pronouncement on, was the matter that emanated from the Justice Omotoso's court, Federal High Court. And then that matter was actually instituted on the 29th day of November 2023, when the issue of defection had not even come up. And the issue of defection came up on the 11th of December, 2023, 12 days apart. So the originating summon of that matter that graduated to the Supreme Court have no issue of defection in it. So how does the Supreme Court now make pronouncement or make judgment on defection? These are the issues. Whenever it has to do with Rivers State, you will see some situations that will begin to make you wonder if we are actually operating the same legal system. And it has happened over and over again. So these things are the concerns that we are having as a people, even in the civil society, because, of course, we know that the Supreme Court is a court of finality. Whatever has been given there, we cannot go back on it because, of course, if we must, maintain the sanctity of our institutions, we have to abide by it. But then, like I said, ab initio, the laws were made for the people, to cushion the effect of the people, to accentuate the lives of the people, not to cause untold suffering on the people. Because, for instance, let us even look at the morality on the part of the judgment that was given by the Supreme Court. If two political gladiators are suffering, why then suffer the ordinary Rivers men and women who depends on the salary, who depends on the allocation that comes to the state for their livelihood? What crime have they committed? What crime have they committed to be punished that way? These are the concerns that we are having. And this does not tell well because it looks as though the laws, the people now are made to serve the law. It's as if the laws are made now to punish the people. And that's not fair.
That is really not fair because obviously Rivers State remains divided with viral fractions claiming legitimacy, and this has not enabled the state to have one voice for several months or since Fubara has been in power. But I must ask you, what are the constitutional and ethical responsibility of lawmakers in this crisis? How can they uphold, the governance without depending on the political instability? Because from all your responses thus far, yes, while I understand that everybody is thinking about their money, the revenue, or how salaries will be paid, let's not forget the influence of former Governor Wike in Rivers politics. There are strong allegations that says that the former governor and the current FCT minister, Wike, is playing behind the scenes role in the state's political conflict. So, from an objective standpoint, let's keep it real. Do you think that his influence is deliberately to create unrest and distraction from governance that the people of Rivers State deserve? Or do you see it as an influence in terms of genuine interests of the people of the state? Quickly.
Well, the truth is that if we are to tell ourselves the truth, then it will be said that the lawmakers that we have today, the 27 assembly member on the side of the FCT minister, are actually self-serving. They are not there for the interests of the people. Rather, they are just there to do the bidding of the FCT minister, which is very, very unfortunate because you can tell that by their courage. In fact, if you look at what they did, the few days after, the Supreme Court reinstated them, everything that they had done, had suggested that they are back for a vendetta, they are back for a vindictive mission just to see how they can frustrate, the governor out of office. But then there is something that they must also know. From the day that the governor was sworn into office, he ceases to be a man of his own. He now became the public property of Rivers people. The governor of Rivers State represents the 6 million Rivers people, and whatever you do to him or against him, you are automatically doing it against the people of Rivers State. So in their mind, if you think that you want to frustrate the governor of Rivers State, they should understand that they are invariably subjecting the people of Rivers State to untold hardship because, of course, the governor is immune from all of those things. Even if you remove the governor from office today, he's never going to go hungry. But the things that you are doing today, making yourself a cog in the wheel of progress and governance of Rivers State, is affecting the poor people, the school teachers, the farmers, the local government workers, and all the people that depend, on the smooth operations of government for their livelihood. But I can tell you that all of these things are the least consideration of the lawmakers that are fighting their way back into the assembly today. And that is unfair. They should also understand that they have a social contract with the people. The people elected them to represent them. What they have as a mandate is something that they are holding in trust for the people and not to the FCT minister. I know that elections, in this side, are done in such a way that sometimes they lack credibility and all of this. But the moment that you've been sworn in, the moment an election has been scheduled and then people came out to cast vote, it means that you are representing your people. But as we speak today, that cannot be said honestly about the activities, of these 27 lawmakers. And that is the height of the problem that we are having in Rivers State.
All right.
It's also very important because, of course, people have been pointing out to the president that he is the one urging the minister on, giving the minister all the leverage to do all the things that he's doing here. He should also understand that it will also have a telling dent on his own administration and reputation if he does not call the minister that serves under his cabinet to order to refrain from some of the activities that is happening here in Rivers State. Because there's no need, covering it. There's no need being circumlocutive about it. It is clear that the minister is wielding a lot of influence and is using his influence now to affect and using it to try to grind governance in Rivers State.
Many thanks for keeping it real. Let me quickly use this opportunity to open the phone lines. But first off, for those who are just tuning in, we've been having an intense and thought-provoking discussion on the political crisis in Rivers State, a saga that has left many questioning the future of governance and democracy in the state. And my guest, Solomon Lenu, a public relations officer of the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, has been sharing deep insights on the unfolding drama from the tussle between Governor Fubara and, of course, the State Assembly to the larger implication for Nigeria's democratic structure. And again, I want to say many thanks to Solomon Lenu with all that you've shared thus far. But to those who are just tuning in, please remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number that is showing on your screen right now. That's 070-6835-3440. And, of course, we are streaming live from Facebook, on Real Talk with Kike platform, on Silverbird platform. So listening to you, Solomon Lenu, with all that you've shared thus far, the federal government's position and intervention in Rivers State is something that I believe that we should throw more light on, given that the growing instability, with all that you've shared thus far regarding the instability, the revenue that must be paid. Do you believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has done enough to address this crisis? If not, if you think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu haven't, addressed the issue, what specific intervention should the federal government be making at this point? Well,
it is very important for us to also remind Nigerians, Kike, you remember that on the 18th of December 2023, when this crisis heightened, the president actually called for a meeting at Aso Rock Villa. And at the end of that meeting, a resolution which a lot of persons had described it tomorrow as a death sentence was handed down to the governor of Rivers State. And of course, Rivers State was thrown into a mourning state after seeing the document, because everything there suggested as though the state was being handed over to the FCT minister. Of course, the governor too, in his signature nature, came out to say that it's not a death sentence. How be it bad, he is also going to try to implement it. And I can tell you today that the judgment that came from the Supreme Court is as a result of the obedience of the governor of Rivers State to that resolution that the president gave at that meeting on the 18th of December, because at that meeting, he said all parties should go and withdraw their cases from court. The governor of Rivers State went ahead and withdrew all his case, and even withdrew his own counter affidavit on the issue that on the case that was filed by Martins Amegule in Justice Omotosho's court. It is as a result of the withdrawal of his defense that gave them the smooth sailing that they kept on, pushing down to the Supreme Court. But then what did the president do? The president that had given instructions to say, okay, you are all my sons, go back and withdraw your issues from court. I want this issue to be settled with an alternative dispute resolution mechanism.
Solomon, I hear you. I have Eze from Port Harcourt. Eze, many thanks for calling. Apologies, I had to keep you waiting. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Eze, are you there? Okay, unfortunately, I think we lost that call. Apologies, I had to keep you waiting. Solomon, you said a lot. Are you there? So, are you there, Eze? Okay, I think we lost that call. Quickly, because I'm trying to manage time right now. With all that you've shared thus far, obviously you're pointing fingers at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as well, not doing enough. But the Rivers State Commissioner of Police, that's Tunji Disu, who has recently received a 7-point demand from civil society groups regarding that governance and security concern is something that must be touched on. How do you, assess the role of law enforcement thus far? Are they acting as impartial enforcers of the law or as a tool of political actors? And the reason why I'm asking this question, Solomon, is because with tensions running high, I want you to be realistic with the existing issue at hand, because with all the things we are sharing right now, there must be a peaceful resolution. Will the reconciliation between the key political actors like Fubara and Wike be the best course, or is it a new leadership structure necessary to just restore that stability and peace in River States?
Well, of course, like I said from the beginning, every dispute always ends on the discussion table, and this is no different. Of course, despite the bombardment of Russia on Ukraine, of course, right now you can see efforts that is ongoing to try to see how they can bring them to the resolution table. So this one here too shouldn't be different. But then the things that are fundamental in all of this is the body language and disposition, of all the actors involved in the crisis. If you look at when the judgment was given, you can see the magnitude of celebration that went around, the whole country from the camp of the FCT minister, meaning they felt that they have won and all of those things. But truth be told, even if they won, is that not a Pyrrhic victory? Because that victory that you win that keeps other people that are supposed to be under your care in pains and all of those things, can that actually be ascribed to be a victory? So at this point in time, of course, the ultimate thing would be to come together on a table to discuss way forward. But it is instructive to also tell Nigerians that one side, the FCT ministers divide, in this whole crisis, had not shown any desire, to come to the discussion table. For them, it is winners take all. And for them, the ultimate, victory for them is until they see, the governor of Rivers State out of office. But also understand that in the Nigerian political landscape, there is also a part that tribalism, nativity and all of these things play in our political cycle. And right now, the people of Ijaw extraction have been given series of warnings that look, this area is the egg that lays the golden egg. And you cannot seize our allocation while you're still collecting our oil. This is the first time that an Ijaw son is becoming a governor since 1999, despite all that they have contributed to this economy. You cannot come here now and come and remove our son that is the governor. All of these things are at play. And if the president and the federal government is very sensitive to the time, I think it is the right time that they will come to get involved and provide a genuine reconciliation that will be a win-win for all, a situation where there will be no victor, no vanquish, and then the state can move forward. Because anything short than that, we cannot get.
All right, many thanks for that submission right there. Can you hear me, Solomon? Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, because I couldn't hear your last I couldn't hear your last statement, so I needed to reconfirm if you are still audible. So with all that you've shared thus far, let's bring to recognition, the abandonment of the resident, because many River State residents feel abandoned in this political battle as governance takes a back seat to power struggles. From your own engagement with citizens, what's your take regarding the crisis affecting everyday people, and what urgent action should be taken to restore that public confidence? I know that there are a lot of traditional rulers now that are supposed to return, and the ones that are there are supposed to leave their seats. What's your take with all of this thus far in terms of restoring confidence? Okay, before you answer that question, I understand that Eze, the caller that called in earlier, is now back. Eze, many thanks for returning that call. What's your contribution on the topic at hand?
My contribution there is that Wike Rivers State. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead. Make your thoughts count.
I said my contribution over there is that Wike is trying to destroy Rivers State, and God will not allow him. Let him allow Rivers State. Let him allow the governor to rule us. I voted for Mr. Governor, and I love him so much. He has done a lot in Rivers State here. Please, I beg him, Wike, allow Obara to rule. That is my contribution.
Thanks for making your thoughts count. So back to you, Solomon, when I asked you about how to restore public confidence. So let me join that with your own position at the moment as the public relations officer of RVCSO, that you and your organization have been vocal about the unfolding events thus far, beyond protest, because Nigeria, we are quick to protest and nothing comes out of it. I keep it real on this platform. Beyond protest and public statements, what practical steps is civil society taking to mediate or prevent further escalation of this crisis? This will be my last question to you before we move to the last segment. Please, in 2 minutes.
Well, I think thank you, Kike. I need to make an urgent correction. Currently, I am not the public relations officer because I resigned my office a few months ago. But that's by the way, I still maintain my position as an executive member of the leadership of the Rivers State Civil Society. Well, to answer your question, I think we must give it up to the governor of Rivers State for the good work he's been doing in restoring confidence and making the people, to stay positive, despite all of the shenanigans that's going on. As we speak to you, irrespective of the hula baloo, that had followed the judgment of the Supreme Court, the man is out there on the street of Port Harcourt commissioning projects. For the past 3 days, he's been out every day commissioning one new project or the other. I think yesterday they were handing over an helicopter, to the Nigerian Air Force for security patrols. A day before that, they were also commissioning fire service stations across the states. So the governor of Rivers State has remained undeterred and undistracted. He has maintained calmness even above what people had expected that he could do. So he's been doing very well. And again, Rivers people are confident because they know the truth. Over there in Lagos or Abuja, most people don't know the truth because, of course, the FCT minister has a very strong media machines, that are there manipulating the truth, and subverting, the situation of things. But here in Rivers State, people know the truth. And I can tell you that the amount of support that the governor has, it will be very difficult, for the FCT minister to actually return back to come and take over the reins of power of Rivers State like he wants to. So I think that the best thing and the best option that still remains, for us, because where there are political turmoils, investment cannot come. People will be skeptical about coming to come and invest and all of those things, because they may not know that Rivers State is very peaceful, considering the kind of news that they may be hearing. So it is important for us to douse down this political tension, come together, work together for the benefit of the state. But as for Rivers State as of today, the state is very peaceful. People are going about their business. Everything is okay, and nobody, is having any distraction. And I can tell you that most people believe that the lawmakers don't even have any moral rectitude to continue as lawmakers, although the Supreme Court has said otherwise. But then, as a civil society advocate and leader in the state, we are still calling for peace, because, of course, that is the ultimate thing that we must have if we are talking about development. So that's the situation of things as of today in Rivers State.
All right, many thanks for all your elaborate submission right there. But before I let you go, I'm moving to the last segment of the show that I call Trending Stories. These are stories that affect us all as Nigerians, as African. And the first trending story that caught my attention is that of the era of extortation of immigration officers at airports, which is gone, according to the Minister of Interior, Tunji Ojo, that assures Nigerians. And this is where I have an opinion as a host. And the installation of the 30-second biometric verification e-gates at Nigerian airports is a major step forward in modernization of our immigration system. I must commend Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo for this initiative, as we have seen past ministers, fail to implement all these reforms of this scale. Nigerians in the diaspora, have also been vocal about these improvements that they are witnessing, particularly in terms of the ease of travel and efficiency at our embassies. The e-gates are already widely used in advanced countries like UK, like US, like UAE, many European nations, where they allow for people for foster clearance, reduce human interference, and improved border security. So by automating passengers, screen time in terms of the e-gates that help to curb the bribery, the eliminating unnecessary delays, and enhance national security. So in the barest minimum, we will have less interaction with immigration officers, let alone some people over greeting you when you know the language that they are speaking. Is either they are calling you Oga, Madam, welcome, anything for us. You know how the languages that happens at our own immigration, at our own airport. But many people believe that the corruption and the human exploitation can never be eliminated in Nigeria. But this development, if you ask me, proves otherwise. With the right technology and committed leadership, we can significantly, I must emphasize, reduce corruption in our country. A similar transformation that I feel that has happened in past administration was the Treasury Single Account, that is the TSA under Buhari's administration, which streamlined government revenues and blocked leakages. Also was the bank verification number, which is the BVN, which also cuts down on financial fraud and money laundering. I know that the e-passport as well and fingerprint identification, which reduce all this multiple passport fraud. I remember once upon a time, people used to have like 4 or 5 passports. That's the truth. Now, with the automation of border control system, Nigerians will no longer be at the mercy of corrupt immigration officers who exploit travelers. The installation of these biometric e-gates ensures that clearance is faster, is secured, and is free from human interference, limiting the chances of exploitation. And I feel that this proves that corruption is not just a permanent cause in our country. It thrives where inefficiency and loopholes exist. So the more we embrace this technology, or the more we embrace, again I repeat, the technology-driven governance, the closer we move to eliminating corruption to the barest minimum in our country. So Nigeria can achieve real development when we prioritize accountability, transparency, and of course innovation. I think that's my submission on that. But before I come to you quickly, Solomon, let me quickly take the second trending story, because this affects women. We are in International Women's Month, and I feel that I needed to lend my voice on International Women's Day that is happening tomorrow. International Women's Day 2025 is Accelerate for Action. I want to personally address this thing because I know it is a global recognized day. I want to make it a call for men. I want men to stand up with women. I, Kikeloma Atanda-Owo, but to lend my voice to this year's International Women's Day theme, Accelerate for Action. In Nigeria and across the world, women have fought tirelessly for equal rights, inclusion, and opportunities. But real progress, I must emphasize, cannot be achieved if we continue to fight alone. The difference now is that we must shift the conversation. Women have been standing for themselves, but we need more men to stand for women. So if men actively stand up for women, we will accelerate action in ways that have never been seen before. There will be less bias, there will be less discrimination, there will not be condemnation anymore, no exploitation, because many of the challenges women face stem from men refusing to give them a chance on the table. Men in leadership, in workplaces, in communities and homes must become intentional about breaking the barriers that hold women back. It also starts from the home. Whether we want to go to the society to become whoever we want to be, the foundation is from our home. When we force boys to respect and support women, we raise men who will empower rather than suppress. When fathers, husbands champion gender equality, they set a standard for fairness in the society at large. When men use their influence to elevate women, the change happens faster. So today, I ask, men, will you stand with us? Again, I ask, men, are you ready to stand with us? True gender equality is not about competition. It's about collaboration. It's about understanding that women, when women rise, the societies thrive. It's time to accelerate action, and together we can achieve a lot. Many thanks again. Many thanks for all that we shared thus far. Unfortunately, I cannot come to my guest right now to give a submission of this because I already read a commentary in my ears that I need to wrap up now. But thank you so much for lending your voice on issues, that affect your state, Rivers State. I will hope that, so there will be a better or peaceful deliberation going forward again. It was a resourceful, we had a wonderful show today. Courtesy, you are a resourceful guest, Solomon Lenu. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best. My name is Solomon Atanda-Owo. Bye now.